The Chancellor's autumn statement earlier today marks the halfway point in the government's 10-year austerity plan, and we're all interested to understand better how the Chancellor's proposals are going to impact on us, on our daily lives. I'm joined here by Tim Mallon, Evolution's Head of Tax, who's going to shed some light on some of the things that we heard earlier today. So Tim, welcome. How do you think the Chancellor's proposals are going to impact on the region's entrepreneurs?
Well, we act for hundreds of growing businesses across the North East, and we advise them on their strategies for growth, and we consistently hear about the importance of a long-term economic plan. And our role in providing accounting, taxation and financial consultancy means that we regularly see the impact of swings in government policy on the results of our clients. Our clients want us to help them grow their businesses, and we all need to see some stability in taxation policy and a credible economic plan with the necessary improvements in infrastructure to assist in their growth. This time around, it looks like some sort of stability has been achieved. There were various predictions before the statement that the government and the economy wasn't quite performing as expected, but the Chancellor's statistics suggest otherwise. Tax receipts are higher than expected, and that's meant that some of those predicted cuts can be slowed down. That means there's going to be a little bit more money in consumers' pockets than perhaps might have been expected, and that's got to be good news for business. There's been additional expenditure on infrastructure, and the announcement of the Northern Powerhouse Investment Fund is going to assist smaller businesses right across the north. And for once, taxation policy has remained relatively stable, although there were some measures announced in the summer budget which have yet to take effect.
Okay. And what about their employees? How will they be affected?
Well, of course, the big announcement was the U-turn on tax credits. And it looks as if the Chancellor has taken heed of what the House of Lords has said, and not only has he slowed down the pace of those cuts, he's completely reversed them. On the horizon, though, we do have the universal credit, which will see 6 benefits merged into one, and that is going to be rolled out at an increased pace over the next few years. So we'll see what happens, how that has an impact on the after-tax earnings of employees. But he's also announced the confirmation of the extension of free childcare for 3- and 4-year-olds, for those earning under £100,000. And he's confirmed the government's commitment to apprentices with the introduction of the apprenticeship levy, with a 0.5% charge on employers with payrolls of over £3 million. Finally, there was little change in terms of tax itself, although those people who work through service companies, or as the government calls them, employer intermediaries, will be affected by changes in their employment status.
Brilliant, thank you. And moving beyond commerce for a moment, how do you think his proposals will affect us ordinary mortals?
Well, there were no changes announced this time in terms of personal allowances or income tax bans, but I do see a cloud on the horizon. The Chancellor talked quite a lot about the introduction of digital tax accounts, which is a mechanism by which individuals will be able to keep their tax affairs up to date using the Revenue's own website. And buried amongst the small print, I did notice that by 2020, individuals, the self-employed and landlords will be required to update their tax accounts quarterly, much in the same way as they do now with a VAT return. So that looks like a quarterly income tax return to me. So that's increased compliance for those people. And of course, with the VAT return now, when you send in the return, you pay the tax at the same time. So that looks as if they're going to start to bring in quarterly income tax payments rather than half-yearly as we have now. And of course, for a government that's looking to keep the deficit down, one way to do that is to get the money in earlier. So I think we'll be looking at that sort of picture within 5 years. Landlords have had a pretty rough ride recently, and in a couple of years' time, they'll start to lose their tax relief on the interest they pay on the mortgages they took out to buy those properties. And also from next April, they're going to start to see increased stamp duty land tax rates on properties costing over £40,000. For others, whilst not announced this time around, next April we'll see the introduction of dividend tax rates, higher dividend tax rates, which is going to affect the owners of many, many companies who extract their profits by means of dividends. And we're working with a large number of those at the moment so that they can better understand how this is going to affect them next April.
And what about those people either approaching retirement or already in a retirement? Are they going to be better off or worse off, in your opinion?
Well, it looks like pensioners will generally be pleased with announcements this time around. The government's confirmed its commitment to the NHS, although the position for social care is less clear, and the state pension is going to go up by just over £3 a week. For those approaching retirement, the horizon looks not quite as bright. Further changes to pensions are in the offing. There is some consultation currently doing the rounds with the with the results announced next March, that consultation is looking at tax relief on pension contributions. And my prediction is that come next March, we'll be looking at either a severe restriction on tax relief on contributions or the abolition of tax relief altogether. So those approaching retirement have got a relatively small window to make the most of the tax relief that's currently available.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, the region suffered some pretty devastating announcements in respect of local businesses recently. Was there anything in the statement to cheer us up, do you think?
Well, I have already mentioned the Northern Powerhouse Investment Fund, and he's announced the creation of one new enterprise zone in the northeast and the extension of the existing zone in the Tees Valley. And nationally, he's announced the extension of small business rate relief for a further year, which will be helpful to many of those small businesses. But other than those enterprise zones, there wasn't a great deal announced specifically for the northeast. On a lighter note, however, I did note that the Speaker issued the usual ticking off for those who were shouting during the Chancellor's speech, and we also heard the Speaker mention yoga for the first time in a budget speech. Those expecting the Chancellor to talk about things like difficult decisions, all being in it together, and fixing the roof while the sun was shining wouldn't have been disappointed.
Yeah, thank you. And finally, what message would you like to send to the Chancellor about the impact of his proposals to our region?
Well, I think it would be difficult to criticise him this time. Whether by luck or good management, he has announced good news about the deficit, which has enabled him to announce a number of spending plans, and for once he's resisted the temptation to tinker with the tax system. The recent announcement about the devolution of powers to the region has to be good news, and I think we hope that that really does have an impact in the region rather than descend into some intra-region political squabbling. And he's announced some further money to support the building of affordable homes, which is going to help the construction sector. So all in all, I think it looks quite positive.
Yeah, I felt positive too. Thank you very much. That was really interesting. If you'd like to talk to us in more detail about how the Chancellor's proposals will affect you personally or in business, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.